Just mute the voice, ma'am, completely in your YouTube only.
Pardon?
Just mute, ma'am. Voice,
Okay.
just sound you need to mute, ma'am, in our
Yes,
YouTube.
yes. Okay.
I think now it is in live. It is showing live on YouTube.
Now I'm not getting still now that YouTube link I did not get. It is still doing.
It takes some second, ma'am.
Yes, yes. Yeah, it has come.
Yeah.
Okay. This link I will copy.
Yeah, ma'am. Just you send to Suresh, sir, ma'am.
Okay.
And in our YouTube, mute sound, ma'am.
Yes, yes. That I did.
Okay, ma'am.
Hello.
Hello. Hello. Good morning, sir.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. 1 minute, sir.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
think you joined. Okay.
Am I audible?
Yeah, sir, it audible, sir. Just once you check a screen sharing, sir.
Yeah, I'll do that, sir, now.
We will, before sending a participant link, you just once check. Check. Sir.
1 minute.
Yeah, sir, visible, sir. Screen visible now. PPT
Visible.
visible.
Okay. Yeah, fine.
Suresh, sir.
Okay.
Tell me, sir. It is visible, sir.
Okay.
Suresh, sir.
Tell me, sir.
Sir, Bhaskar.
ಹೇಳಿ ಭಾಸ್ಕರ್.
ಸರ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಮೇಡಮ್ ಯೂಟ್ಯೂಬ್ ಲಿಂಕ್ ನಿಮಗೆ ಕಳ್ಸಿದಾರ. ಈಗ ಹುಡುಗರಿಗೆ ಶೇರ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಸರ್. ಯೂಟ್ಯೂಬ್ದು ಮತ್ತೆ ಯೂಟ್ಯೂಬ್ ಲಿಂಕ್ ಮತ್ತೆ ಝೂಮ್ ಲಿಂಕ್ ಎರಡು ಶೇರ್ ಮಾಡಿ.
ಎರಡು ಒಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಇದೆ, ಅದು ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಇದೆಯಾ?
ಮಿಕ್ಕಿದವರು ಯೂಟ್ಯೂಬ್ ಹೋಗಕ್ಕೆ ಹೇಳಿ ಅಷ್ಟೇ.
ಇಲ್ಲ ಈಗ ಒಂದ್ರಲ್ಲೇ ಬರುತ್ತಲ್ವಾ ಎಲ್ಲ ಅದು?
ಒಂದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ಇಲ್ಲ ಯೂಟ್ಯೂಬ್ ಒಂದು ಲಿಂಕ್ ಕಳ್ಸಿದಾರೆ ಮೇಡಮ್.
Sir, both will not come in same because
ಬಂದಿಲ್ಲ
YouTube will be
ಬಂದಿರೋದು
one link and Sir Suresh sir.
ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಒನ್ ಕಳಿಸಿದ್ದೀರಾ?
Second one I sent it to mail.
ಇದು ಝೂಮ್
ಸರ್ ಯೂಟ್ಯೂಬ್ ಲಿಂಕ್ ಕಳ್ಸಿದಾರೆ ಅಂತ ನೋಡಿ ಸರ್.
ಒಂದೇ ಬಂದಿರೋದು ಜಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಝೂಮ್ ಮೀಟಿಂಗ್ ಅಂತಾನೆ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ, ಅದು ಅದೇನು ಯೂಟ್ಯೂಬ್ ಸಪರೇಟ್ ಕಳಿಸಿದ್ದೀರಾ? ಟೆಲ್ ಮಿ.
Suresh sir, I have sent that YouTube link to your mail ID.
ಮೇಲ್ ಐಡಿ ಕಳಿಸಿದ್ದೀರಾ?
Can you please open that one? Because when I trying to select that one, it is automatically opening in YouTube. That is why. If possible, I send it to your WhatsApp also.
ವಾಟ್ಸಪ್ ಕಳಿಸಿ ಮೇಡಮ್, ಈಗಲೇ ಕಳಿಸಿ ಮೇಡಮ್ ವಾಟ್ಸಪ್ಗೆ.
Excuse me, Suresh sir, I have sent it to your WhatsApp.
I got it.
Okay, for Bhaskar also.
Also received. ಸರ್ ಅದು ಹುಡುಗರಿಗೆ ಕಳಿಸ್ಬಿಡಿ ಸರ್.
ಕಳಿಸ್ತಾರೆ.
Suresh sir, YouTube also working, sir. So technically
ಹೌದಾ
everything
ಸರಿ ಸರಿ
okay.
ಓಕೆ ಓಕೆ ಹಾಂ
ಹುಡುಗರು ಜಾಯ್ನ್ ಆದ್ರೆ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು ಸರ್.
So students are joining in Zoom or YouTube?
ಯೂಟ್ಯೂಬ್ ಸರ್ ಯೂಟ್ಯೂಬ್
Okay.
because
So
Zoom
have
also
they,
everybody
yeah, they started joining already?
they started sir started.
Oh, okay.
In Zoom we have a participants limit, sir. That's why we give our YouTube live.
Okay.
So that's why we inform a student to join in YouTube live only.
Okay. So can we start at 10:45?
ಎಷ್ಟಾಗಿದೆ ಇವರೇ ಯಾರು ಜಾಯ್ನ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದಾರಾ ಬಸ್
Sir,
ಯಾರು ಜಾಯ್ನ್
ಅದು
ಆಗಿದ್ದಾರಾ
ಬ್ಯೂಲಾ ಮೇಡಮ್ ನೋಡ್ಬೇಕು ಸರ್, ಅವ್ರು ಕಂಟ್ರೋಲ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದಾರಾ?
ಮೇಡಮ್ ಯಾರು ಜಾಯ್ನ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದಾರಾ? ಹೌದಾ ಸರಿ ಜಾಯ್ನ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ ಈಗ. ಓಕೆ ರೀ ಮಾಡಿ ಫೈನಲ್ ಏನು ಮಾಡಿ, ನಾನು ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ ಬಟ್ ನಾನು LGಗೆ ಹಾಕಿದ್ದೀನಿ, ನೀವು ಹಾಕ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಜಾಯಿನ್ ಇಮಿಡಿಯೇಟ್ಲಿ ಅಂತ ಕಳಿಸಿ. ಏನು ಬಿ ಸೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಎರಡಕ್ಕೂ ಕಳಿಸಿ, ನಿಮ್ಮ ಹತ್ರ ಇದೆ. ಬಿ ಯಾರು? ಕಳಿಸಿ. Janki, I sent a link. I sent it to final year students, B section. No? Send it and ask them to join immediately. Message is. Okay. Okay. It is only for students. Okay. Okay. Okay.
Hello, sir.
Hello. Tell me, sir. Sir.
Yeah. How many students has joined so far?
Still now 10 students have joined, sir. 10.
Okay. Okay.
Now
Then
they
we.
are rushing because they are joining. Because internet or this one, that one, they'll take time to join, sir.
Okay. Okay.
Because sometimes most of them are staying in outside the state, some
Okay.
places. It is even
Okay.
for us also, for class also, it happens same thing only, sir.
Okay. Okay.
It will take almost nearly 20 minutes to get all students. 22.
Okay.
Okay, sir. ವ್ಯೂಲ ಎಷ್ಟಾಗಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಡಿ ವ್ಯೂಲ ವ್ಯೂಲ ವ್ಯೂಲ
Sir, at present 10 students are there, sir. I think there is small time difference, no? That is a thing. I have put it into final year A and B group, sir. Shortly they'll be joining.
on the line only, madam. I can call be there only.
Yes, sir. I called on a class representative and told him to join because of some certain time issues. I think they are joining, sir. People are now added up. They are now it becomes increasing.
Okay.
That will take 10 minutes, ma'am.
Another 10 minutes will be there.
Hello, sir. Can we start now? Hello.
Sir, 2 minutes, sir.
Okay. So students are joining in both YouTube and Zoom actually.
Yeah, ma'am. Yes, sir. They are joining in a Zoom also and YouTube also.
Okay.
Bhaskar? Bhaskar? Bhaskar?
ಸರ್ ಹೇಳಿ
ಅದೇ HOD ರಿಂಗ್ ಆಗ್ತದೆ ಎತ್ತುತ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ.
ಓಕೆ ಸರ್. ನಾನೊಂದ್ಸರಿ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ರೀ ಸರ್.
ಏನು ಎನ್ಗೇಜ್ ಬರ್ತಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರಿ?
ಈಗ ಬಿಸಿ ಬಂತು ನಾನು ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ.
ಇಲ್ಲ ಅವರು ನಾನು
ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ರೀ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ನೋಡೋಣ.
ಹಲೋ, ಹೇಳಿ 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 ಭಾಸ್ಕರ್. ಹೇಳಿ ಭಾಸ್ಕರ್. ಆಯ್ತು 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 ಹಾಗೆ ಮಾಡ್ಸೋಣ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಣ. ಓಕೆ 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 ಓಕೆ. Hello. Hello. 1 minute. 1 minute, sir. I am in the meeting. I am in the meeting, sir. I have to call you after 1 hour. Okay. Hello, Beulah. Hey, Beulah. Beulah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'll start now. Okay, Bhaskar.
ಹೇಳಿ.
ನಾನು ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ. ಓಕೆ. Sir, Ranjit, sir?
Yeah, hello.
Sir, okay, please. Okay, sir. Now I'll start, sir. I will invite you. Okay. So, a very good morning to all the participants, that is final year students and the pre-final year students of electrical, electronics and telecommunication students for this career options and job opportunities in India, the graduates. So, today we have a speaker who is in the experience in the field of this career option for any branches. Ranjit CV. Right now he is working as an electric architect and a product designer at Philips India Limited, Pune, since July 2012. For 19 years of experience in end-to-end electronics products for hardware design and development. And his qualification has done in different universities. So MTech in biomedical engineering at Manipal Institute of Technology, and BE in electrical electronics engineering at Sri Ramakrishna Engineering College, Coimbatore, Bharatiya University. And he has got experience in different, has got training, skill in different software like MATLAB, Xilinx, etc., which is used for design of a product and hardware development. And major achievements of in his career is designed and architect multiple medical products for global markets. So such a vast experience I'm having. Now today is with us to address the students regarding their career, how to choose the career in their after the graduation, what skill they need to work in future in their any company. So now I'll welcome Mr. Ranjit CV for this event. I request him to start the sessions. Please welcome, please,
Yeah,
sir.
hi,
Please start.
good morning to all of you. Thank you for joining this session. Thanks for inviting me for this lecture. Yeah, today I'll be talking to you about the career options and opportunities after your graduation. Okay, so I'll be talking to you about the higher education. I mean options after your engineering. Then I'll focus on type of industries and product development flow, and later I will focus on different kind of jobs and the skill set that you need to have job to get a job in industry. Okay, I'll also talk to you about the interview, resume preparation, etc., and then later I'll give an overview on some trainings which you can do while studying or after your engineering. Okay. So I'm working with Philips, and I have over 80 plus years of experience in product development. So I work in major in end-to-end development, where most of my experience is in hardware design and architecture. Okay, so I've told you the content what I'll be talking today. Yeah. So the most important thing for you is to have a proper career planning. Okay. So at least when you are in a third year or at least the earliest, the beginning of final year, you need to decide what you want to do. Okay, because you need to have a very clear objective. This is the most important thing, because in every interview this question will be asked. Okay, so you have to really decide what you want to do, but you can do that based on certain things. One is based on your passion and interest. You can choose something which you like, okay, to do. And but the most important thing is here that you have to select the field based on your skills and expertise. Okay, so you have to really understand the skills required in that particular domain. Okay, and then you have to do a self assessment of yourself and see whether you have the skills and expertise in that. Okay, and if you have the skills, don't have the sufficient skills to work in that, then you need to really learn. Okay, so that's a way. The reason here is that, I mean, especially if you want to work in R&D in an industry, you need to work on different kind of projects. Okay, and the technology changes and you have to work on
Really,
different project. So you need to really have a
really.
good skills and expertise, okay, to complete your project on time. Okay, so this is very important. Then third thing is that you have
Sorry,
to
sorry, sorry.
look at the availability of job in your field of interest. This is also very important. Actually, you should have sufficient option. And the last thing is the long-term career growth opportunity. Okay, so you have to always consider this aspect, because your career is very long in industry, say 20 years or 30 years. Okay, so you should really choose something which has got good career growth opportunities. Okay, so that's where the core domain in electronics is going to help you there. Okay, so I mean you have to choose even the company or the type of work that you are going to do based on the long term career growth opportunity. And your career growth is purely depending on the skill set that you have, and also the technical knowledge you have, and also the domain that you work. Okay, and your career growth, this also is going to define your career growth as well as both salary. Okay, because your technical skills is going to define your future salary as well. Okay, so it's very important. So select something which you like to do, and learn the skill set to in that particular domain, and then try to find a job in that domain. Okay, so that's the best way to do. Okay, now I'll start actually. There are different options after your engineering. You could go for higher studies, Okay, so you could go for a job. It can be in industry or in academics, or you can start your own company. Okay, so in higher study we have two options. One is MBA. So MBA is not useful in R&D. I will tell you later where it is useful. Okay, and after your engineering you can go for MTech. If you want to work in academics or even, it's a mandatory, and I mean, even in industry, it's preferable actually, especially in R&D, because doing MTech will, broaden your knowledge, and that will help you to get a job, at a senior level, as a fresher in industry. Okay, so compared to a BTech, the MTech will join at a senior level and even with a higher salary. So it's always good to do MTech. After MTech, you could go for PhD. I mean, if you want to work in academic services, and further you can go for postdoctoral research, fellowship, etc. Okay. So now I'll talk to you a bit on the higher study in India. You have a different kind of master's degree like ME, MTech, then research master's degree like MS or MSc Engineering or MTech, etc. Okay, so these are conventional degrees where you focus more on theory and practicals. In the research degree, the focus is on research problem or thesis. Okay, both are good actually. In industry, consider both are equal. Okay. So here you have to consider a few things. So to go for higher education, you need to prepare from third year onwards because you have to get a good gate score. Okay, so that's very important. And the second thing is the specialization. So you have to choose your specialization based on your career goal. That's the most important thing. Okay, so for example, you want to go in IC design, you can select VLSA, or you want to work in signal processing, you can select signal processing like that. Okay, so this is a very important aspect. So you have to choose your specialization based on your career objective. Okay, and before you finalize the course, also please look into the course content and the syllabus. That is also very important. You should know what you'll be learning there, because the course title may be same in various universities, but the syllabus will be different. Okay. So you can also go for higher education in abroad, maybe in America or Europe, or in Asia Pacific countries. Here also again you need to prepare from third year. One of the reasons are like you have to prepare for GRE if you want to go to US, and the other one is TOEFL or IELTS exams. Okay, so you need to prepare from third year. This is for this preparing for these exams. Okay, the second thing is that this universities in abroad also will look into your projects and overall your technical skills, and also the paper you publish. Okay, in reputed journals like IEEE, etc. For the admission, and mainly for the the scholarship thing as a perspective actually. So it's very important for you to have these things. Okay, do some good projects, and to have some good papers published, etc. Okay. Then the next thing is that you have to choose your specialization or the domain that you want to do based on again your career objective. That's the number one. And the second thing is that you have to also study the job market in that particular country, because it's very important for you to know. The opportunities available in the country. So you have to clearly decide what you want to do after your masters. So if you want to go for a PhD, then you can select a university or a country where you have got good research opportunities. Okay, in case if you want to work in industry, okay, so you have to really do a homework to find out the industries, yeah, in that particular domain, okay, of your field of interest, or if your field of specialization. That's very important. These things you have to do before even you go actually, because the problem is that once you finish masters, and if you do not get job within the we'll say given time, say 1 year or so, so you'll have to return back to India, and then you are equally paid like an MTech. So it's an important thing. You can find a lot of information from master's course from studyportal.com. This is the best site for higher education. And find masters also. Okay. Yeah. So if your interest is to work in academics or research, especially in academics, you need to do MTech. That is mandatory. And then you can join in engineering college as assistant professor. If you want to work in research, you could join as a research associated fellow in various colleges and university, etc. And this is for roles are there in IAC Bangalore also. Okay, so you can work on some research this thing. Problems and field, etc. And later you can do MTech, and maybe you can move to academics, or after 7 years as a researcher, you get 1 or 2 years. Later you can even move to industry. Even industry give a preference. Okay, so these are the options there in academic and research. Now I'll tell you about industry types. Okay, from here onwards, my focus is purely industry. You have a different kind of industry like IT service companies. Okay, so you all of you will be aware of them. So they do the projects for different customers. They don't develop any product. They work on different technologies, different kind of applications. They work in core electronics also, like VLSI design, DSP, or embedded software or hardware design, etc. Okay, but only very less percentage of the students will get chance to work here. So you need to really have this skill set in your resume. Okay, so they will choose the people based on that actually. Okay, so I'll tell you later what all skills you need to have. Then our product companies, they develop the products, so they design the products, they manufacture it, sell it, and service it. Okay, so end-to-end development, and I mean, next followed here actually. Okay, then you have electronics manufacturing service companies. See, mostly product companies will outsource PCB assembly, etc., to these companies. Okay, and sometimes even they will, outsource some of the part assemblies or even complete manufacturing. Okay, so these companies will manufacture the product, and then they will do extensive testing. So they'll have good test team, test engineers. So they will develop the test software, hardware, etc., and the test rig, etc., to test this product. Okay, and all these companies also do some design activities. Okay, for various customers. Jabil Flextronics and Minar example. Okay, then you have a semiconductor company like TA, Intel, and all. So they design the ICs. Okay, and they also develop the application as the software and algorithms actually, so which customers can use in their applications. Okay. Apart from this, they'll also design the software development tools. I mean, like Code Composer Studio, or Xilinx ISE or Vivada, etc. Okay, so which you can use, while you are developing a product with these components. Okay, apart from this, they also do the reference design or application. I mean, the evaluation board design actually. So which and even application software development for certain kind of applications which customers can use, like for automotive or medical industries, etc. They work with them, and to develop these things. So these are really nice companies to work. Then you have a product certification companies. So they do, certification testing actually for any product. As you know, I mean, if you want to sell a product anywhere, you need to get some certifications. If you look at your laptop charger, you can see a lot of certification markings like CEUL and so on, right? So it's very important. So ULTV. So almost all of these companies are in Bangalore. They got even labs actually. Then you have a government organization like ISRO, DO, BEL, and HAL and all. So they do a lot of design activities and even manufacturing. Okay, so to get to here, in R&D you need to have a good GATE score. So that's why our GATE will help you also here. Then you have other organizations like railways and BSNL. They also hire electronics engineers, but there is no design. It's only integration, maintenance activities. Okay, so you have to understand this aspect. Okay, so now I'll tell you a bit on product development flow. I mean, here I'll tell you how a product is developed. Okay. So you will start any product development with the initiation phase, and this is the phase you're going to start a project or a product development. So you've got a different two type of a product development. One is a new product development, okay, and the second is a new version of your product development. So I'll tell you about this new version of the product development later. In new product development, you are going to develop a product, say first time in your company. Okay, so to do that, you need to do in a market study and also customer survey. So you're doing customer surveys to understand the customer requirements, their wish, and so on. And then the marketing surveys to understand the competitors products in the market, what all features they offer, how is this, the market say the response, say, like sales and the issues, etc. Because you need to know when you are designing a product, what all features you need to have, right? And how your product is faring against the competitors. So that's very important. Okay, so that's the reason for doing this thing. So it's done by sales and marketing team. So once you do that, you'll have all the requirements. Okay, you'll have a lot of ideas, what all features they offer, what is the cost of their product. So you'll have all the data. Okay, with that you have to define the concept. In the concept, you'll define how you're going to develop a product at very high level. Okay, so while doing the concept definition, you have to also do a feasibility study to see whether it is it possible for you to do the product or the core technologies in that product actually technically. If it is feasible, then you have to also see whether it is feasible to do it in a particular time, and the cost actually, that time to market and cost aspect also has to be considered. If everything is okay, then you will define the specification of your product. Okay, and then you will go for the system design. In the system design, you will identify the major components. So you'll identify your processor and the critical components in your system. Okay, so when you say do the system design of the high level system architecture, you have to also see whether the your architecture or the component that you have chosen in your architecture support future requirements. Suppose you are designing a product, okay, with a processor. Okay, so and you have a memory requirement. So maybe your current memory requirement may be just 32 GB, but in future you may need it maybe 128 or 256 GB. Okay, so in this case, what you need to consider that you have to select a processor which can support say up to 256 GB interface, for example. Okay, so you can use currently 32 GB, and but in future you can use. So by doing that, you're designing a product in such a way that, I mean, with a minor change, you can have idea new products, or you can have new features. Okay. Otherwise, what happen? You assume, select a processor with only the 32 GB interface. Okay. Then in the future you want to have a 64 or 128 GB, then you'll have to redesign the PCBs. You may have to select a new processor. That's a problem. So you should always think it ahead, actually, at least in the next 3 to 5 years. Okay. So does my architecture has all the capabilities to support all the future requirement? Okay. So this is a very important aspect. So once you have defined the architecture, next is detailed development. So we'll have from different teams, you'll have some engineers working on hardware design, so where they'll select the components, design the circuit, and get the PCBs done, etc. And you will have software development engineers, so you could be different kind of software engineers. So somebody will be working on, say, embedded so I mean, say like DSP software, or somebody working on control systems, and anything, somebody working on user interface, etc. So they will develop their software, and they will do the initial testing and the evaluation boards, and once the hardware is there, they will implement and do the testing. Okay, this is the phase you have prototype. So if to do extensive testing, it will be initially done by the design engineers. They will see how the system works. Okay, and if everything is good, it will go to next stage, testing and validation. And if you have any failures or any problem you find here, you'll have to look into that in detail. Then you have to fix them, actually. You'll have to again go into redesign, actually. Okay, if it is a software design, it's fine, but in hardware design, it's a problem, actually, because you have to redesign the PCBs, and that is a quite expensive thing, actually. So it's very important. Okay, so once your testing is done, the prototype testing is done, it will go to testing and validation phase. And this is the phase where you will do extensive testing. You'll have a separate testing and verification team. They will do the testing, an extended testing, and to see whether there are any issues, actually. Okay, they'll do a lot of automation setting, test setup they'll develop, and they'll do a lot of automation testing, to see something is there. And after that, you'll go to reliability testing. Okay, after reliability testing, you'll go for environment testing, to see whether your system work as per your expectation. Okay, and all the features are working, and the performance is consistent across different humidity and temperature range. Okay, and once that is done, you'll go to in certification testing. I'll tell you about certification testing and reliability testing now. The purpose of doing reliability testing is to ensure your product is reliable, because it's very important for your to have a good product which is reliable. The reasons are that if you have more failures, it will affect your company's reputation. Okay, so that's one thing. Second thing is that you'll have more failures, that will affect your profitability, because you have to replace the part, the failed part under warranty. So that will have impact. And the third thing is that sometimes if the failure it's causing some safety issues, so then it will be a problem. It will cause legal issues. For example, in a car, if in case of accident, if airbag is not deploying, for example, so when that's a safety issue, actually. So car company has to pay huge fine to the government sometime, and even to the user. Okay, and they may have to stop the production. Okay, so it's very important for us to identify all the problems during the design phase itself. Okay, so you do three kind of tests here. One is temperature test, humidity test, and environment. Vibration test. Okay. The purpose of doing vibration test is to ensure there is no problem in the assembly. Okay. When the vibration test, if the assembly is not good, or if the cable assemblies are not proper, these things may come out. Okay. So by doing this thing, you will find all the problems in the assembly. So you can improve your assembly. Maybe you can select a connector with a good locking mechanism, or you can mount the PCBs and all properly. Okay, so that will not move and all during that, and will not pull the cable. Okay, so so you'll fix it there. And the environment humidity test, what we do is that we'll test your system at different humidity level. As you know, humidity will cause condensation, and finally this condensation will cause short circuit, actually. So you'll have to ensure your system enclosures are good and all, so that there will not be any problem due to condensation. Okay. And temperature test is very important. As you know, the component behavior changes with temperature. With the rise in temperature, your offset value will change, and also in the op amps, and also resistor value will vary with temperature, and even your errors in the ADCs will also change with temperature, right? So it's very important for us to fix. So in temperature testing, what we do is that we do extended temperature tests. We do testing, say, from maybe -20 to 90 degree, for example, and you will see how the system behaves. The system functions that, and also will monitor a lot of signals. okay, and even the temperature and so on actually, and we will see how these signals are changing and what is happening to the system. Is it failing at certain stage and all, and how is the component the temperature also changes, okay, with this, okay, because as you know, the power dissipation of component also is depending on the ambient temperature, okay. So if you don't have good heat sink, that will also cause failing in favor heat sink or cooling mechanism, then some components may fail. And your signal also will change actually. I mean, you'll have errors will vary, and that will finally affect your output signal, and sometime it will cause function issue. Sometime it will not even work actually. Okay, so it's very important for you to know these things, and so to fix this actually, so you by doing this test, you will understand how much is the variation in the signals, and what are the problems of the system functions, and what are the components that are failing. Okay, then you have to find a root cause actually. You have to find right at which stage it is failing, okay, and then what are the care you need to take care. Okay, so for example, the variation part of the signals, we can select a component with a tighter lesser tolerance probably, or lesser offset voltage. That's one way to solve it, but it's not always feasible in every product, because if the variation is very minimal, you can do it to some extent, but if the variation is large, it's not always possible. The reason is that once you select this component with a lower tolerance, the cost of the component will go up, okay, and that will really affect in your bill of component cost actually. Okay, so that's not the solution. The other solution is to fix it in the software, and that's a common way we always do. So software development engineers will develop some algorithm and based on the component properties. So they will look into the data sheet, and they will see there are plots, it shows that variation in offset or the errors with respect to temperature. Okay, so they develop some algorithm, okay, to correct these errors, okay, with respect to temperature. So they will take a temperature as input. So that's the reason why we have a temperature sensors in every systems actually. You have temperature sensors, so you get the internal temperature data. With that you will correct, okay, and that is also the reason why software engineers need to have good knowledge in electronics. Okay, so once this is fixed, then you go for certification. In the certification, we do three kind of testing: and regulatory testing, safety testing, and environmental testing. Environmental testing is to ensure the product is working with, and then as per the expectation or as per the specification. This will be evaluated by regulatory authority also. It's very important. They have to ensure that whatever you're claiming is correct actually. So that's the main goal here. Okay, that's one thing. The second thing is that you do safety testing. The purpose of doing safety testing is to ensure your product is safe to use. Okay, so I mean, we have to ensure that the product is safe in normal working condition also, and in failed case. Okay, suppose some short circuit happens, still it should be safe, for example. Okay, so in safety testing, what we typically do is that, I mean, then, I mean, we will measure the leakage current, and also we'll monitor the temperature and so on actually. Okay, so it's very important for us to ensure that there is no safety hazard to the user, like shock or over temperature, so that can cause burn to the user. I mean, when he touches, or it should not cause any fire hazard actually. Okay, so what they do is that they will measure the temperature and leakage current in normal working condition. Then they will create a failure. They will do a lot of short circuit actually purposely, to create failures, and they have to see how much the temperature is rising, how much the current is rising, this fire is catching, and so on. Okay, so that is the reason why we always use fuses in the system. Not only normal fuse, fuses which blow with respect to the rated current. We'll also use a lot of thermal fuses actually, because what happens is that if you short circuit if you do a short circuit, sometimes fuse will blow. Okay, if the current is really reaching that fuse limit, but it's not always true, because assume you have a system operating at say 230 volt, and if the major short, and if the current really reaches, it will blow. But if you are short circuiting and one IC output, for example, at 3.3 volt, okay, so it will not cause the fuse to blow, because the current has not even reached that level. But at the same time, the IC will really get hot, and it can catch fire actually. Okay, cause fire actually, for example. Okay, so that's the reason we use thermal fuses in nearby, in a PCB, in a few, so that in that area, if the temperature is really going up, it will get open. Okay, so that's the goal. Okay, so once there are no problem, you get the test report. Okay, so then next thing is regulatory testing. Here we mainly do electromagnetic interference and compatibility test. Okay, it's very important test. So we have to ensure our system is not emitting much radiation and conductor noise, and it's also immune to external interference like radiator and conductor emission. Okay, so here we will measure the conductor emission of your system and radiator emission of your system, because conductor emission will add noise to your power supply, and that will cause a problem to other equipments you operating from same power supply. And radiator emission also will affect the operation of other systems. Okay, so very important that pass this test, and it should be within the limit of each country where you want to use your product. Okay. And second thing is immunity test. If you might have noticed your earlier CRT TVs, whenever you turn on the mixer guide, you see a lot of lines actually, right? I mean, on the TV, right? These are called electromagnetic interference. So we have to ensure that, and in case of external interference either on the power supply or the radiated one, there should not be any problem actually on the performance of your system. So we'll inject a noise to the power supply. Okay. So to ensure your system is operating, and that is the reason why you're using when you filters in any system. Okay, so after your power inlet in any system, you'll have filters actually, so it will filter out this noises. Okay, and then also then you'll emit a radiated noise actually, and then we'll see how your system behaves. Okay, so that is the reason why we need to have good grounding and shielding, which will protect the system from the radiated emissions. Okay, so once you finish this, and also we do ESD tests, electrostatic discharge tests, and there are many more actually, but these are the major ones. Okay, and then once you finish all these tests, and if your system passes, your product is ready for certification, so you can submit the reports to the regulatory authority in that particular country. Okay, so then after that you get the certification. Okay, once you get the certification, you can start manufacturing. In manufacturing you have different steps. So first step is to purchase the components. In any system is made up of different components from different suppliers, so you'll have a purchase engineer. Their job, or procurement engineer, their job is to purchase the components actually from different supplier. Okay, and once the part is in the factory, there will be quality department. They will do the quality check of incoming parts to see whether it is okay, and if the part is okay, it will go to assembly, and after the manufacturing, product will be tested thoroughly, and after test, quality team will again verify the test results, and if everything is fine, it will be shipped actually. Okay, once the product reaches the customer, so he can use it if it is a small product. But in case of say like larger generators, or even you take yeah, communication equipments, or even having a complex medical imaging system, it's not like that, because these systems are really large. So many time it will be shipped in assembly. It will be shipped in different packaging boxes. Then service engineer will visit the site once it arrives there, and he will assemble everything and test it, and hand over it to the customer. Okay, and if it is a new product to the customer, and if you don't know clearly how to use it actually, then we'll have to give training. So application engineers will give a training to the customer, and he will start using the product again. Once you start using the product, and if there are any failures, he will contact the service center. They will or service engineer, they will visit and solve the problem. Okay, and once the problem is solved, there's a service engineer will inform the company about these issues. Okay, and even they will send the failed part. Okay, but then once the part arrives, then we'll do a root cause analysis to find why the failure have occurred, and we'll see whether it's a design issue. If it's a design issue, we need to fix it actually. So that will call for redesign. Okay, that's one thing. Second thing is that like you launch a product, maybe after some years, you will have a competitors coming with a product with a better features, so you need to add those features in your product. Okay, because that will impact on your sales actually. So you have to study like what all the features you need to add in your product. Again, that will call for a redesign. Okay, and then third thing is that you have to optimize your design. You have to do value engineering. Okay, as you know, semiconductor technology is growing up, so you have a lot of integrated components coming, like you have analog front end ICs, so which has amplifier, filters, and ADCs. Okay, so you can use that. So if you use that, you can remove couple of ICs, and the resistor capacitor extra. So that will help you to save some cost, because you have lesser component means you can also reduce the PCB size, and that will again help you to save it some cost. And finally, assembly cost is also depending on number of components, so here again you will get some saving there. Okay, and this is how you're doing. Okay, so these are the three reasons why we are going for a new version of product. Remember, one is to fix the issues in your design. Okay, to study the the fails, the failure from your from the field, and improve your design. Second thing is to add new features. Third thing is to optimize your design. Okay, so it's a continuous flow. Once you add this thing, then again you will define the concept, and you'll do the design test and so on. Okay, this is how a product is developed. So bit on PCB design flow. And the PCB design, you start with functional block diagram. You'll identify the components. Okay, after that you draw the schematics. Then you do simulation to ensure, I mean, your design is correct and it's working as per your expectation. Then you have to do the component placement. The first thing here is to place the component, and then you have to see whether there are any interference, etc. happening. So that's why you use the simulation. And after simulated, you will go for layer routing, so where you connect all the components, and after connecting you have to again do simulation to ensure there is no interference. So for example, your router clocks in or close to an analog signals, you'll have a lot of oscillations on the analog signal. Okay, so you need to have a sufficient spacing and good grounding, etc. Okay, and once that is simulation results are good, you will go for the PCB manufacturing. And if there are some issues, you need to fix it actually, and then again you need to do simulation to ensure it's okay. In case of FPGA development and IC design, for example, you have two stages, front end and back end. In front end, you define the architecture of the ICs, okay, and do the RTL design. In back end, you do the physical design of the IC. Okay. In case of FPGA design, it's only front end. So first you have to define the architecture. You have to design what are the building blocks. Okay. Then once that is done, you have to design each of these building blocks in your IC, and you have to do verification. After verification, you will connect all of them together and do the final verification. Okay, that is once that is done, you have to select the semiconductor technology you'll be using, the material, and the size of the IC and number of pins. Okay, once that is done, you have to place different building blocks in the ICs and then do a integrity check. And once that is done, you will do layout, and you have to check all the signals actually. Okay, and once that's done, you go for the fabrication. Okay, and this is how an IC is developed. It's a very complex process, and it costs millions of dollars. Okay. So now I'll tell you about different kind of jobs. So initially, the first part is that you have to decide. I mean, the first thing what you have to do is that decide your objective, decide what you want to do. Okay, in which domain you want to work. And next is that in which kind of job you want to do. That's very important. Huh? So you have different kind of jobs in industry. In our research means you do develop some algorithms and protocols, etc. Design and development, you will actually implement these algorithms in a processor or DSP, something like that. Okay. So in many companies it's a combined role, and in a few companies it will be a separate role like research engineers. So doing masters is always good. Here to work in R&D, you need to really have a good technical knowledge, and because in an R&D you have to work on different technologies in a short period of time, and you'll have work on different projects actually. So you should really have a good technical knowledge, then only you will have to work actually. Okay, getting a job in R&D is also very difficult because you need to really have a good technical knowledge and basic skills. Okay, then yeah, this is the role in R&D. So to develop a product, okay, design the circuit or the software, etc. Then you have a testing engineers role. Their job is to test a product. It can be software testing, hardware testing, or combination of both. They'll develop the test software to test the product, the test jig, etc. Okay, and also they'll develop the automation setup, etc. using LabVIEW. Okay, then you have IC verification engineers, so they'll be responsible for testing the ICs. Okay. And then you have application engineers role. Their job is to give a training on how to use a product actually. So which I've told you before. Okay, and then you have a quality and regulatory role. So quality role is to ensure you meet all the quality guidelines while you design a product or test a product or manufacture a product. And finally you have to ensure the quality of a product. Okay, so it's a very important aspect actually. So you have different roles there actually. Okay, so this is very important actually. Then uh, you have a design quality engineer, product quality, and supply quality engineer. Okay, the job of a design quality engineer is to work with R&D engineers and testing engineer and ensure that they follow some quality guidelines while they design or test the product. Okay? So you have got different standards like ISO 9001, etc. So based on these kind of standards, you need to follow certain guidelines in documentation or the steps you follow, etc. Okay, so it will ensure that these things are done, and it's not much technical role. Then you have a product quality engineer. So when a product comes to the factory, parts come to the factory, you'll have to do a quality check. So they will be responsible for doing the incoming quality checks and the final quality check, etc. Then you have a supply quality engineer. Their job is to ensure whatever part is coming to the factory is not having any quality issues, and also to ensure that they not deliver the product based on the guidelines that we have provided. Okay, and in case of any product failure, component failure in your product, okay, so as a product manufacturer we are responsible for the product failure, but so then the supply quality engineer will work with suppliers to ensure that they do root cause analysis of why the part is failed, and to improve their design in case if it's an issue. Okay, so they are an interface between the company and the suppliers, and finally their goal is to ensure the quality of the parts coming to factory. Okay, Then you have a regulatory engineer. There are two roles there. The one is regulatory engineer and test engineer. Test engineer for testing the product, and regulatory engineer is for ensuring the regulatory guidelines are followed while you design a product. Okay, and for example, you want to design a product for European Union. Okay, where radiator and conductor emissions are less, so we need to ensure your product meet actually this requirement. Okay, to meet this requirement you need to have a good shielding, good grounding, and also you may have to sometimes use some filters, etc., right? So they will work with the R&D engineers to ensure these things are taken care. Okay, then you have manufacturing roles like a manufacturing engineer, test engineer, production engineer. So manufacturing engineer is responsible for ensuring the factory has got right tools and setup to manufacture a product. Okay, you need different equipments, etc. They will ensure these things. The production engineer is responsible for managing the production and ensure the product is manufactured as and assembled as per the guidelines. And also they will ensure daily or weekly target limit. And testing engineer for testing the product. Okay, and you have a supply chain or procurement engineer. Their job is to purchase the part from different suppliers and negotiate with them on the pricing, and finally ensure the continuity of getting this part. Okay, so that is very important actually. Okay, then you have service engineer. They'll be responsible for serving the product, and sales and marketing is for selling and marketing the product. At the same time, they will also do the market survey, to get the market feedback and so on. So that's used for the product development. Okay, so for these two roles, supply chain or my sales and marketing, doing MBA is helpful, and for R&D it's ME or MTech. Okay, so you have to really choose the field based on your career objective, and you have to also understand the complexity in each of the job. Getting a job in R&D is difficult, and working in R&D is also really difficult because you need to really have a good technical knowledge, and also you need to learn continuously. Okay, so it's very important. And the advantage of working in R&D is that if you work in R&D, you can move to other roles easily. Okay, so it's very important. If you work in other roles, say like 2 years, for example, as a test engineer, then you can't come back to R&D. So please select it wisely. Okay, based on your career goal. Okay, now I'll tell you a bit on interview process and resume. Okay, so and what industry want actually from me. Okay, it's the expectations mainly. So first and foremost thing for you to get an interview call is to have a good resume. Okay, so this is the most important thing. You need to have the skill set in the course, the required skill set in your resume. I'll be talking about that later. And once you have required skill set, your resume will be screened. It is done automatically. So it's very important actually, for you to have right skill set to get an interview call. Okay. And in case if you are already placed, again, a resume is very important because once you join in a company, they will have ask you the resume again. Okay, because they have to allocate a project actually, so they want to see your skill set because they are hiring a lot of students actually, so they really want to see your skill set. And if you have the right skill set, then only you'll get the job in core domain. Okay, so it's very important for you to have the right skill set. Okay, so we'll have two round of interview. One is technical and another is HR round. In technical interview, we'll evaluate your technical knowledge. So there will be multiple rounds. So in the first round, we'll ask you a lot of questions on your project, find a project, mini projects, and also whatever you have written in your resume. So please study all those things thoroughly. Okay, it's very important. In the second round, we'll ask you a lot of questions on your basic knowledge actually. So it's very about basic knowledge. We'll ask you a lot of questions on the components, properties, sometimes to draw the circuit or internal block diagrams, and calculations and so on actually. So it's very important. So the second round is that once you clear this, you'll have HR round. In the HR round, we'll ask you a lot of questions. To generally to assess your behavioral skills and also communication skills. So mostly group discussion will be here actually to assess your communication and presentation skills. And then they'll ask you a lot of questions, sometimes psychometric tests to assess your behavioral skills like team player, ownership, and flexibility. All these three are very important because you have to work as a team in any company. Okay, so you work as a team and to deliver a project, and also you have to take ownership in your task because you will always have dependency actually in industry. It's always any task has dependency. You'll have certain people has to complete certain tasks, then only you can complete your task. So it's very important for you to ensure that you take ownership in to finish your task. And the third thing is that this is the most important thing, you should be flexible, because many times students get rejected in this actually, because you have to be very clear in this actually. So for what happens is that in any company you have a very different task like in product development, right? So it's a very important that you are ready to do different tasks actually based on the requirement. Okay, so for example, I mean, you design a product. Okay, so there is a test engineers who will do the testing. Okay, and sometimes what happens in a company, and you'll have more priority in other project, or there are some issues in other project, so the testing your project will go to the other project, so you may have to act as a test engineer for the time. So they'll ask you a lot of questions on this, so you should say yes, I'm ready to do different tasks. Okay, it's very important thing, because if it is you're not flexible, you won't be taken, recruited in any company. So it's very important. Okay, and also you have to study about the company, because after the interview, HR and technical person will ask you a question. Do you have any questions about the company? So please ask, ask some questions about the company, what type of work they do and technology they use. It's very important. Now I'll tell you about the skill set you need to have, to get a job in industry. So I'll start with embedded system. Embedded system is a combination of hardware and software. Okay, so when you say hardware, it's a combination of DSP, processor, and FPGA. Okay, so all three are used in embedded system. So it's very important for you to know all the three, and so you need to know the architecture of all the three, and you have to do some mini project. It's important. Second thing is that as I told before, you need to know have a good knowledge in electronics, because you need to develop some algorithm, to correct the errors, etc. So you need to know the properties of the component. So this is an important thing. So in interview, will ask you a lot of questions. So please learn this. Okay, and the third thing is that you need to have very good, so you need to have a good knowledge in DSP fundamentals, because you use a lot of filtering, compression and encryption, etc. So these are DSP fundamentals. Okay, so you need to learn that as well. The language, either C or C++ is okay. MATLAB is important. You need to know HDL. RTOS is important. One processor, DSP, and architecture is important. Need to learn that, actually it's mandatory. And also you should have good knowledge in communication protocols, because you have to use them actually, and also device drivers and other things. Okay, so these are typical skill set for an embedded software engineer. You will get a call, an interview call, only when you have this thing in your resume. So please ensure to have them in your resume. You have different roles here. Okay, so these are some in signal and image processing. To work, to have good knowledge in DSP and image processing fundamentals and mathematics. And same way, you need to have good knowledge in DSP processor architecture, DSP processor and FPGA architecture. The reason is that see, DSP is anyway used in this kind of applications, but FPGA is also used a lot. So you need to know that, and even high-end ARM processors are used. Okay, so it's very important for you to know. And the C language C++ or C is more than enough, and MATLAB is also required, HDL is required, and RTOS is required, and also you need to know communication protocols, because you acquire data from different modules, etc. These are different roles there. Okay. To work in AI and ML, you need to have good knowledge in machine learning and neural networks and AI, and also you need to have good knowledge in DSP and image processing, because it's used in combination. You have to understand one thing: AI and machine learning is also used in embedded systems and signal and image processing. So it's very important for you to know these things. Okay, so it's not a separate domain as such. It's used for any kind of applications. Okay. So you need to know either C++ or Python. You need to know HDL, and also you need to know the architecture of DSP processor and FPGA, because it's implemented in a, when it is in an embedded system, it's implemented either in a DSP or processor and FPGA. So you need to know the architecture. Okay. To work in hardware design, you need to have good knowledge in schematic tools like cadence and graphics. You need to know PCB design fundamentals, good knowledge in simulation and HDL language, and you need to know architecture, DSP, processor, microcontrollers, and FPGA and memory. It's required, and also you should have good knowledge in communication protocol. Most importantly, you should know about the components from resistor, capacitor, diode to op amp, and voltage regulators, electromagnetic compatibility, etc. Okay, so a lot of opportunities here, like analog design, power electronics, and so on. Actually, so I really have got a lot of opportunities in this domain. Okay, so in VLSI design, you need to have good knowledge in digital electronics, analog electronics, and and also you need to have good knowledge, in semiconductor physics and pro HDLs. And also script programming language is also important, because if you're working as a test engineer, you need to develop code in this, so it's important. Domain knowledge also will help you actually. So for example, you are designing an ASIC for communication application, knowing the communication algorithm is important actually. So you've got a lot of roles here, like a front end, back end engineers, layout engineers, etc. Okay, so yeah, so these are the skills that you need to have in your resume. So please understand one thing: in a core domain in electronics, you have got only three kind of domain, at a high level. Okay, so one is you know software, another is hardware, and third is VLSI design. VLSI design is a separate domain. In software, you have different domains, like you can be embedded software engineer, or you can be a signal or image processing engineer, or you can be A or ML engineers, etc. Okay, so you have to choose this thing actually, and then you have to learn the skill set. That's important. Now I'll give you an overview of some of the components and tools used in industry. So ARM is the most popular processor. Please ensure that you learn this actually. You have got the different architectures here. You have a processor for machine learning, neural network, or a cloud and security. So it's very important, for you to know this architecture. Then only you'll be able to implement the ML algorithm or AI algorithm, for example. Okay. You have got other processor controllers, NSPTA, microchip, and ST, etc. So, and yeah, they have got ARM processors and different kind of process like a C2000 series. This is a signal controller. It's used in power supply. So it's even used in UPS and so many applications. Got also AVR and PIC actually, but these are not as popular as the other one. Okay. You have got DSPs from TI and analog devices. TI has got 6000 series DSP. Okay, so when it has a two variants. So one is a DSP plus ARM process, another is a pure DSP. So it's used in communication and image processing applications. And you have a 55 series DSP. So that's used for low-end applications or control systems, etc. and audio applications. Okay. Then you have DSPs from analog devices. Okay, so they have got ADSP, Blackfin, Shark, etc. So Blackfin is used a lot in automotive industry. So it's very important for you to know this thing actually. And please ensure you learn one DSP. So it's very important for you to this thing. Okay. Yeah, and FPGA is also part of embedded system. So I mean you have a FPGA from Xilinx and Intel. So you have a high-end 7 series FPGAs, and also you have got Sync series. It's a combination of FPGA and ARM processor. It has even GPU, and this is an example of accelerator platform that's used in supercomputers or base stations, etc. It has a processor as well as an FPGA and also intelligent engine for AI and the DSP applications. Okay. This is an example of Intel FPGAs. So Intel has got normal FPGAs and system on chip. It's a combination of FPGA and processor. Okay. This is an example of IoT. Blocks actually. So IoT has got a node, router, and cloud. So if you understand one thing, IoT is not a separate domain as such. It's a part of embedded system. Okay, but it's a multidisciplinary domain. So you need to really have a different skill set and knowledge, to work in this domain. Okay. So, I know to start with a sensor, so where you acquire some data, and then you do some amplification, filtering, etc., in the signal chain, and sometime you may even do analog to digital conversion here. Okay, and once you have the data in the processor, you have to do some filtering here. Okay, so use maybe FAR or IR, etc., and then you process the data, and you'll transfer it to through some wireless module. Okay, communication protocol module. Okay, so while you send the data, you need to also do some compression here and sometime encryption. Okay, and node is operated from battery, so you need to ensure that you have low power consumption. So it's very important for you to know the architecture of a process to do that. Okay, and also depending on the environmental conditions, and also sometimes you have to correct the errors actually from these sensors actually. Okay, so to work in IoT domain, you need to have good knowledge in electronics, signal processing, communication protocols, and also you need to know the architecture of processor, and finally the programming. If you want to be embedded software engineer, so all the skill sets are mandatory. Okay, if you see in cloud, you use high-end processors. So these are some examples of protocols used there like Zigbee, Bluetooth, and Wi-Fi, etc. And this is an example of a cloud server from HP based on DSP. Okay. So this is an example of a neural network, implementation processor. This is used for object detection applications. So again, I'm telling you, you need to know the architecture of a processor to implement actually. Okay. So FPGA is also used in machine learning. Okay. So this is a bit on schematic capture and simulation and layout tools from Cadence. So Cadence has got tools actually. For schematic layout and simulations and the layout simulation as well. So you can download these evaluation versions from net. Okay, PSpace, I hope you are learning in college. Okay, it's important if you want to be a hardware engineer. Mentor Graphics also has got tool. Hyperlinks is used for simulation actually. Okay, layout simulation, and also it's used for EMI/EMC simulation, signal integrity, and thermal simulation. FPGA design, you can learn Xilinx or Vivado tools, IS or Vivado tools, and also Intel Quartus actually, and Model Sim is used for simulation. Okay, and IC design, Synopsys tools are used, and the Synopsys and Cadence are used. Okay, for both the front end and back end. So we need to know this thing if you want to go in IC design. And MATLAB is very important, so it's used in every kind of application. So like AI to power up, power electronics to robotics to control systems everywhere. Okay, IoT. So if you want to work as a software engineer, either as embedded or signal processing, you need to know this. It's mandatory. It's also used for embedded software development for both processor and FPGA. And in the Simulink is also gaining popularity now. It's used for simulation and model-based design. So it's very important for you to know these things actually. Okay. LabVIEW has been useful for automation test setup. So if you want to work on automation test setup, it's very important actually to know this thing. Okay, and this also is for a FPGA development. Okay. Yeah. Now how to enhance your career, the career process. So few things you need to really consider here. So one is that you need to learn the architecture of DSP, processor, and FPGA, and you also have to do some processor. I mean, you have to also do some mini projects actually on the all the three. So please ensure you have this in your resume if you want to work in core electronics, because you get an interview call purely based on your skill set and resume. So it's very important. Okay. Second thing is that doing a master's will help you really in and doing some short term courses will also help you. You can do projects in industry, or you can also do some internship. And paper publication also will add value. And networking with the seniors or industry people will also give an insight to you. Okay. So you can do various courses. I'll quickly tell you about these courses. So in embedded system, I mean, it's useful for both software and hardware. It's offered at CDAC and many more institutes in Bangalore. Okay, we have Sandeepani and so on. Okay, in IoT, even CDAC offer, and hopefully we'll have more courses in training centers in Bangalore. We'll be teaching on this as well. Okay. VLSI design is really a wide domain where you have different kind of jobs in this sense, and a front end, back end, layout and verification, etc. So you have a lot of institutes are there. Accordingly, you have to choose your course. Okay, CDAC is for front end, and you have Sandeepani, and also I think they're quite good. So you can explore actually. So which one is suiting your requirement? And in DSP and image processing, they'll teach you on DSP and image processing fundamentals. Cranes Varsity in Bangalore offer internship and all. So it's really good actually, if you could do that, and if you want to work in DSP domain. And ANML, I mean, it's used everywhere. So I mean, in this training, it's typically they will focus on PC based applications. But you want to work in core electronics, it's very important for you to embed a system, because you may implement an AA algorithm in anywhere actually, either in the DSP or processor and IPG. Okay, so it's very important for you to know that. And this is for hardware design, so they will teach you on hardware design fundamentals actually. So they're in CDAC or Hyderabad or in NIT in Calicut. Okay. So even electromagnetic compatibility is also good if you want to work in hardware domain. It's a few days course, like 3 days program. It's offered at Samir. They offer twice in a year in Chennai. Okay, or you could think that actually. Okay, now I'll tell you about online learning also. See, I mean, the advantage of doing training center courses that you'll have a better an opportunity than there, because they love evaluation boards and the software development tools, so you can do some projects there. Okay, that's the biggest advantage. In online learning, you don't have this thing, so you'll learn the things something, but then but you have to do some project actually. Okay, so without doing any project, these courses are not having any value. So please do some please do these courses and do some mini project. Okay, you can use the evaluation boards in your college for doing the projects. If you want to work in embedded software, you can do some course in DSP and AML and AA and IoT. Okay, so please learn at least 1 or 2 courses per semester. If you want to be in embedded software, it's important for you to in MLA and IoT, and so please focus on this. Okay, because you may not be studying in engineering, but this is used everywhere now. That's why. You can also find a lot of tutorials or recorded videos, I mean, or even webinars actually in various sites. So that's also useful for you to know. And you can also buy some of the boards just for these are for example, like a microprocessor or DSP, or or DSP T or Unlock, etc. Or you can also use some of the evaluation boards of FPGA as well. Okay. So these are the subjects you need to focus. So which I told you earlier. I mean, to work in embedded software, you need to have good knowledge in electronics. Also, it's very important. And you can also learn other subjects, for hardware and VLSIDs. Okay. So the most important thing for is a very good cover resume with a good skill set, okay, and also have a good covering letter, okay, highlighting your experience. So please create a good LinkedIn profile. This is very important actually, okay, because a lot of things happen through networking. So you please follow the companies, connect with the people, so that will be helpful for you to get projects, internship, etc. And you have to also understand one thing: in India we have over 2,000 companies working in core domain. See, many of these are like startups or small scale companies, okay, but even that's also good for to start your career, to really gain some experience, okay. And once you have experience, you can move anywhere, okay. And then a lot of core companies are also there in Bangalore. But you have to understand few things here. So none of the companies, will put the requirements for freshers in their website. They will always put, the openings for experienced people. But you can send your resume when you have a skill. So to get job in core domain or core companies, you need to try yourself. Search in Google, find the companies, then keep on applying. Don't look at the openings. Openings, they will say like we don't have openings, or it's for experienced people, okay. But that's not meaning that they're not hiring you. If you have good skill set, you will get an interview call, okay. So that's very important, okay. So to get a job, you need to have a good technical knowledge, on the advanced skills, and okay. Then second is to have good basic knowledge, okay. You can register in various job sites, and continuous learning is also very important, okay. So keep on learning, okay. And that will really help you, okay. So yeah, with this I've completed. So now I think we have another 15-20 minutes for question and answer. If you have any questions, feel free to type in the chat box. I will answer each of them, okay. So I'll summarize. So 3 steps. First, to decide what you want to do. Decide your objective. Step number 1, okay. And then step number 2 is that to decide which kind of job you want to do in that, okay, domain. Third thing is learning the skills, actually learning the advanced skills, and at the same time you learn the basics also, because these are very important for you to clear an interview, okay. And then last thing is to keep on searching the companies, connect with the people in LinkedIn, and you could try for internship or job and so on, actually, okay. Hello. Yeah, you can type now. So I've done it actually. Can you hear me? Hello. Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. You are
Okay.
audible.
Yeah. So now students can type the questions from YouTube. You can type it here actually.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Feel free to type.
Yes. Students, if you're having any doubts or queries, you can please type in the chat box, or you can unmute and ask the question directly.
Yeah, that is also fine.
Yeah. Any questions? Sir, there is one question in the chat box. Can you?
Yeah. No. See, this year I think campus interview will get impacted, but you can try yourself actually. Like a lot of companies in core domain, they are recruiting people, but they are typically, many of them want to come to campus interview actually. Okay, or if they will go only to select a top ranking institutes actually. So that's what I told you. Please Google it, and you can search actually. I mean, search and find and apply. Okay, and so don't look at their job openings, because job openings always they will put that we need a 4+ year experience like that. But you don't bother that. You can send your resume always, okay, but the companies will see it, and if you have a really good skill set, that definitely they'll call for your interview, and that's how people get job. Okay, it's not always through campus interview, but definitely campus interview will impact this. Okay, I hope that answers you.
Any other questions?
So the good thing what you can do is that I mean, see, you have a find the companies, connect with the people in HR manager and in LinkedIn, and just really find a lot of companies. Then once you are say in 8th semester, you could try actually for job. So that's the easiest way actually. Any more questions? Yeah, I'll share it with sir actually. No, DSP domain you have to search. There are a lot of companies actually. I told you in Bangalore you have all the bigger ones, say from TI to Unlock Devices to everything actually, from Qualcomm to Cisco. All of them work on DSP. Yeah? You see communication domain that is full of DSP actually, and then you have all IT companies work on DSP. And then there are many more actually, like Bosch work on DSP, Continental work like that. A lot of companies work actually. So if you Google it, you will get actually. Okay, a lot of companies, yeah, like Continental to Bosch to Honeywell to G, all of them. Okay. Now you have to try actually. You search in Google, you'll find it. Okay. See, only you have to search and find it in Google. As I told you, there are really many companies, but many of them will not even go for campus interview. There are a lot of startups also working in Singapore, okay. Say for example, Hotstar, they work on signal and image compression and image processing, right? So like that, a lot of companies are there, in the data streaming and other things. Okay, so you could try there as well. But you need to really have a very good technical knowledge in this thing. I mean, signal and image processing. That's very important. And it's not that easy. Also, normally this kind of interviews. Okay, in really core domain. Okay. Next question.
The students, we can directly ask the question also. Any other question? I think that is I think we have not received any other question from the chat box.
So how many
One
were
more
there? How many were there in live session actually? In YouTube.
Live in Zoom, 17 are there. In the
YouTuber.
YouTube, Bhaskar, can you please tell me how many are there in the YouTube?
YouTube around 32, ma'am.
32.
Okay.
Sir,
Okay.
can you please answer one more question has come?
Yeah. No, see, internship, see, when internship has value, but you know what is more important there is that what you have done and how much knowledge you have gained actually. That's more important. Okay. See, I don't know how much you will learn in online internship actually. See, instead of that, you know, you can do some courses and you can do some mini project. Even that is even much better, you know that. See, you have to understand one thing. See, every internship will not add a value near to your resume. Okay, so it will add value only when you have done something really good there actually. Okay. So that's what you know. Online learning will help you, but online learning doing the course will not help you alone. Okay, doing course is not having value, but you have to do some mini project actually, and then you have value. And that is also the best way you can do. Suppose you know you want to do say, CDAC and all, you know, you need to complete engineering. But if you are say, you know, studying engineering, then you know you can do some online courses. Then use the evaluation board in your college and do some project. So that is even more beneficial, I say. Okay. So don't think that internship has value, but value is purely depending on what you have done there actually and what you have learned. Okay, so that's more important. Say some, you know, you can do any kind of internship, any kind of work, so in any company. But what happens is that you know, when you choose your domain, say you know you want to work in Singapore, so it's something which you do that's not even relevant to that. Say something on general application development for the say financial industry, so that's not going to add any value at all. Okay, so that you have to see actually, you know, what you will be learning and what you will be doing in internship. Then you have to choose. So that's my point here. So if you don't get good internship, you know, see, for example, you could do it in Cranes Varsity. I don't know now due to situation they may not be offering like that actually, or like that. A lot of other places will be there. You know, you can Google it and find it. Okay. So do in your field of interest and in your based on your career goal. That is very important. So if you want to work in signal processing, try to do there actually. Okay. So to work in signal processing, as I told you, you need to also know machine learning and AI, etc. Because these are things are used, and you need to be up to date on the technology. Yeah? AI, IoT, and machine learning. These are the current technology, and soon you know even VR and virtual reality, AI, and the other things are also there. So if you want to be you know in, say signal or image processing, it's good to learn that things actually. So that's what I'm saying. So you know, find you know you have to really see you know what you are going to learn in internship and what kind of work you're going to do, and then you have to ask a question to you: is it worth actually, right? Okay, so okay, hope that answers you. Any more questions?
Students, do you have any other questions? Okay, I think you have answered all questions, sir. Uh,
Okay, fine.
yeah, yes.
If there are no more questions, I think we can
Yeah, conclude it.
yeah
Okay.
conclude it. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you all for joining this session, and wish you all the best.
So, thank you very much, sir. I'm Beulah from electrical department. That this webinar session was so useful to the students, and the students have asked so many questions. You were clear. You have cleared all the doubts, and it was very much useful to the students. And it is so informative also. You have given a framework how to go ahead and how to choose a career, and what are all the informations required, and how to build their resume. All informations are very useful to the students. Thank you very much, sir. Once
Thank
again,
you,
from
ma'am.
on
Thank you, ma'am.
behalf of electrical department, we thank you, and thank you for the information.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Yeah. On behalf of electrical department, I thank our principal, management for giving an opportunity to conduct a webinar. And thank you one and all.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah. Dear students, all of you fill the feedback form, which is put up in the chat box. You can just click on that and fill it. Bhaskar sir, any time restriction within how much time they should fill?
Ma'am, around 10 minutes.
Yeah. So students, please fill the feedback form within 10 minutes. It will take only 1 minute to fill it.
ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ಆಯ್ತಾ? ಹಲೋ ಓವರ್
ಸರ್ ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟೆಡ್ ಮುಗೀತು.
ಮುಗಿದಾ? ಹೌದಾ? ನಾನು ನೋಡಿ ಲಿಂಕ್ ಸಿಗ್ತಲ್ಲ, ಈಗ ಸಿಕ್ತು. ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ ಏಕೆಂತ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ. ಆಗ್ಲೇ ಒಂದು ಇದು 6ನೇ ಸಲ ಆ ನೆಟ್ವರ್ಕ್ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಈಗ ಈ ಸಲ ಸಿಕ್ತು. ಈಗ ನಿಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತಲ್ಲ ನಾನು ಜಾಯ್ನ್ ಆಗೋದು ಬರೋದು?
ಸರ್ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಸರ್.
ಸರಿ, ಒಟ್ಟಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಮುಗೀತಲ್ವಾ?
ಮುಗೀತು ಸರ್. ಫೀಡ್ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ ಫಿಲ್ ಮಾಡಕ್ ಹೇಳಿದೀವಿ. 10 ಮಿನಿಟ್ಸ್ ಕ್ಲೋಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ.
ಓಕೆ ರೈಟ್, ಸರಿ. ಇದು ಹಂಗೆ ಓಪನ್ ಇರ್ತದೆ. ಹಲೋ ಬಿವ್ಲಾ?
Yes, sir.
ಡಿಸ್ಕನೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆದ್ರೆ
Some of the students asked for the PPT, and he told that he will share the PPT. So you can just ask him if he can send through mail or something so that we can share to the students.
ಓಕೆ. ಟೋಟಲ್ ಎಷ್ಟು ಜನ ಇದ್ರು ಮೇಡಮ್ ಹುಡುಗರು? ಭಾಸ್ಕರ್, ಯೂಟ್ಯೂಬ್ನಲ್ಲಿ 32 ಜನ ಬಂದಿರಾ?
ಹಾಂ ಸರ್.
ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಝೂಮಲ್ಲಿ
some 24 students were there. In between, some students were not there.
ಹೋಗಿ ಆಯ್ತು ಬಿಡಿ.
Approximately 60 students.
ಸಾಕು. ಈಗೆಲ್ಲ ಯಾರು ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಬರ್ತಾನೆ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಬ್ಯುಸಿ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ. ಸರಿ, ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಸರ್ಟಿಫಿಕೇಟ್ ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕಲ್ವಾ ಭಾಸ್ಕರ್?
ಹಾಂ ಸರ್. ನಾಳೆ ಅದು ಫೀಡ್ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ ಫಿಲ್ ಮಾಡಲಿ, ನಾಳೆ ಕಳಿಸ್ತೀನಿ ಬಿಡಿ ಸರ್.
ಫೀಡ್ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ ಬಂದವ್ರು ಕೊಟ್ಟವ್ರು ಮಾತ್ರ ಸಿಗುತ್ತಲ್ವಾ?
ಹಾಂ, ಅಷ್ಟು ಜನದ ಮಾತ್ರ ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಷ್ಟೇ.
ಅವ್ರು ಹೋದ್ರಲ್ವಾ ಸ್ಪೀಕರ್?
ಅವ್ರು ಲೆಫ್ಟ್.
ನಾನು ಫೋನಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ಬಿಡಿ. ಓಕೆ
ಓಕೆ.
ಭಾಸ್ಕರ್
ಸರ್ ಹೇಳಿ.
ಇದೀರಾ ಲೈನಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ?
2 minutes ಸರ್.
ಆಯ್ತು, ಸ್ಪೀಕರ್ ಹತ್ರ ಮಾತಾಡಿದ್ರೆ
ಸರ್
ಏನೋ ಕನೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಅದು ಇಂಟರ್ನೆಟ್
ನಡೆಯಪ್ಪ.
ಎಲ್ಲೂ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಕೊಡ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ, ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂಸ್ ಆಗಿ ಬಂತಲ್ವಾ?
ಎಲ್ಲೂ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಆಗಲಿಲ್ಲ ಸರ್.
ಅದೇ ಅವ್ರ ಮನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದೆ ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ ಇದು ಇಂಟರ್ನೆಟ್ ವೈಫೈ.
ಮ್ಯಾಮ್
Bhaskar, can I log out? Actually, still 8 participants are there.
Ma'am, I informed who are filled they can leave a meeting.
Yeah. So you have already sent information in the chat box, no? But still,
Yeah, ma'am.
Yashwant, Sunil Kumar, they are there, but they're still filling the form or simply.
No, ma'am, it takes only 1 minute. That's it.
Yeah. Okay. So 10 minutes over.
Yeah, ma'am, 10 minutes over.
Okay, I'll wait for 2 more minutes. I think only 3 are there.
Yeah, okay, ma'am.
Okay.
8 ಇಂದ 6 ಆಗಿದ್ದಾರೆ.
Sir, can I end the meeting, sir?
Yeah, ma'am.
Okay, fine. Yeah. So, okay, sir. Suresh sir. Suresh sir is not there, I think so.
I think,
No.
ma'am.
He's not responding. He's there in the list.
He's in list only. He's not responding, ma'am. Okay, ma'am, you can conclude. Means you can log
I
off.
can close the
Yeah.
end the meeting.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Sir, Suresh sir, I'm ending the meeting. Okay. Okay, thanks, Bhaskar. Bye.
Okay, ma'am. Bye, ma'am.